Here's how to change the fuel petcock on a Japanese motorcycle. Harleys are different, and I'll make another video about Harleys. I'll put the link in the description. First, drain the gas into a gas can, or you can just drain it into the tank of your car if you don't have a gas can around. That'll work too. In the event that your petcock doesn't work at all, you can siphon it off using a hose in the gas tank. Most Japanese bikes are going to have the tank bolted on at the back of the gas tank, and then the front of the gas tank is just held on by these rubber biscuits. So you unbolt those, lift it up, and pull it back. Make sure you check for any wires. Like this one has 2 wires that hook up to the gas gauge. So any wires like that coming off the tank, you'll need to unplug and remember where they go. And disconnect any hoses connected to the petcock as well. This one has a gas line, but then it also has a vacuum line back here. So some of them have more than one hose. On this engine, the vacuum line creates vacuum, which allows fuel to flow. So the engine won't flow fuel when it's not running. So you have to unplug the vacuum line plus the fuel line. Easy. There's one more hose, a vent hose. Alright, so this is it. You just need to take this bolt out and this bolt out to get it out. And you can see I've tipped the tank up, so all the gas that's left is in the bottom of it rather than draining the whole thing. And just these 2 bolts, but you have to buy new washers. The washers that are under here are coated with rubber and have special sealing properties. So you definitely don't want to just use a generic washer or reuse the same washers. It costs $6 for a set of 2, and it's definitely worth it to get the new metal rubber washers to go in here. You can see mine was leaking a little bit here. Looks like it was leaking a little bit here too. You have 2 options with the petcock. You can either replace it or you can buy a rebuild kit. You can see on this one, you see gaskets in here, and you can unscrew these screws and pop the front valve off. So you can buy for about $25. You can buy a kit that has all the internal parts to rebuild this. I just went ahead and bought a new one for $59 on eBay. That is the brand name. This is for an old 1980s Suzuki GS650G. 1982 actually, but probably any of the 80s Suzukis would run a similar valve. Ta-da! Oh! Watch out. Be careful with that basketball.
Okay.
Alright, the hazards of the home mechanic. Alright, new washers on the bolts. Ding. I'm going to crank it down good and tight. In my case, I'm going to use an actual wrench rather than a screwdriver.
I'm sorry, I missed the basket.
At this point, you want to make sure that it's turned off, because it would be unfortunate if there was some gas still in the tank and you picked it up and it drooled all over you. So on an old Suzuki, there's on, reserve, and pry. And because it's got this vacuum valve here that turns it on and off, when it's if it's on or reserve, no gas is going to come out. But if it's on pry, that means prime, and that means gas is going to flow out. So I'm going to turn it on to on when I put it on the bike. And then to get some gas in the carbs, I'll turn it on to pry until the carbs are filled up, and then I'll fire it up and see what happens. Here's a close-up look at how the tank attaches to the frame. You can see there's these U-shaped things in the front of the tank, and they grab onto these big rubber biscuits. Sometimes when you take the tank off, the rubber biscuit will fall off, so you got to make sure that these didn't get displaced when you were doing your job. And then this one has another rubber biscuit back here that the tank rides on, plus 2 holes that you bolted onto the frame with. Alright, hook up the vacuum hose and the fuel hose. Hook up your fuel gauge if you got one. Make sure the vent line from the tank is going back down out the bottom of the bike. Alright, put the 2 bolts back in that hold the back of the tank on. Make sure that your gas is turned the way you want it to. I would turn it to prime to fill up the carbs, and then turn it to on or reserve after that. Fire it up, and we're good to ride.